So you brought up capitalism earlier, and there are a lot of people who love capitalism and a lot of people who really, really don't. And it struck me recently that what's happening with capitalism here is exactly analogous to the way in which superintelligence might wipe us out. You know, I studied economics for my undergrad, Stockholm School of Economics. Yay.
Well, no, why? Tell me.
So I was very interested in how you could use market forces to just get stuff done more efficiently, but give the right incentives to the market so that it wouldn't do really bad things.
That's Max Tegmark, Swedish-American physicist and AI researcher at MIT. He said he had to study economics because he wanted to prevent catastrophe. And he's saying he just realized capitalism and superintelligence have the exact same problem. Here's what he means.
So Dylan Hadfield-Menell, who's a professor and colleague of mine at MIT, wrote this really interesting paper with some collaborators recently, where they proved mathematically that if you just take one goal that you just optimize for on and on and on indefinitely, that you think is going to bring you in the right direction, what basically always happens is, in the beginning, it will make things better for you. But if you keep going, at some point, it's going to start making things worse for you again. And then gradually, it's going to make it really, really terrible. So just as a simple, the way I think of the proof is, suppose you want to go from here back to Austin, for example, and you're like, okay, yeah, let's go south, but you put in exactly the right direction. Just optimize that, south as possible. You get closer and closer to Austin, but there's always some little error. So you're not going exactly towards Austin, but you get pretty close. But then eventually, you start going away again. And eventually, you're going to be leaving the solar system.
Yeah.
And they proved, it's a beautiful mathematical proof. This happens generally, and this is very important for AI because even though Stuart Russell has written a book and given a lot of talks on why it's a bad idea to have AI just blindly optimize something, that's what pretty much all our systems do.
Yeah.
We have something called a loss function that we're just minimizing, or a reward function we're just maximizing. And capitalism is exactly like that too. We wanted to get stuff done more efficiently, people wanted. So introduce the free market. Things got done much more efficiently than they did in, say, communism. And it got better. And it worked great as long as the companies were small enough that they couldn't capture the regulators. But that's not true anymore, but they keep optimizing. And now they realize that they can...
So there's a mathematical proof that one-directional optimization always ends in disaster. And Tegmark is saying that's not a hypothetical problem. That's exactly what every AI system on the planet is doing right now. We're pointing them toward a target they lock on and we're counting on nothing going wrong. But his math says something always does. Now listen to this.
These companies can make even more profit by building ever more powerful AI, even if it's reckless, but optimize more. So this is Moloch again showing up. And I just want to, anyone here who has any concerns about late stage capitalism having gone a little too far, you should worry about superintelligence because it's the same villain in both cases. It's Moloch.
And optimizing one objective function aggressively, blindly is going to take us there.
Yeah, we have to pause from time to time and look into our hearts and ask, why are we doing this? Am I still going towards Austin or have I gone too far? Maybe we should change direction.
And that is the idea behind a halt for 6 months. Why 6 months? It seems like a very short period. Can we just linger and explore different ideas here? Because this feels like a really important moment in human history where pausing would actually have a significant positive effect.
We said 6 months because we figured the number one pushback we were going to get in the West was like, but China. And everybody knows there's no way that China is going to catch up with the West on this in 6 months. So that argument goes off the table and you can forget about geopolitical competition and just focus on the real issue. That's why we put this.
That's really interesting. But you already made the case that even for China, if you actually want to take on that argument, China too would not be bothered by a longer halt because they don't want to lose control. Even more than the West doesn't.
That's what I think.
That's a really interesting argument. Like, I have to actually really think about that, which the kind of thing people assume is if you develop an AGI, that OpenAI, if they're the ones that do it, for example, they're going to win. But you're saying, no, everybody loses.
Yeah, it's going to get better and better and better, and then kaboom, we all lose. That's what's going to happen.
When lose and win are defined on a metric of basically quality of life for human civilization and for Sam Altman. Both.
To be blunt, my personal guess, and people can quibble with this, is that there won't be any humans. That's it. That's what I mean by lose. We can see in history, once you have some species or some group of people who aren't needed anymore, it doesn't usually work out so well for them, right?
Yeah.
there were a lot of horses that were used for traffic in Boston, and then the car got invented, and most of them got, well, we don't need to go there. And if you look at humans right now, why did the labor movement succeed? And after the Industrial Revolution, because it was needed. Even though we had a lot of Molochs and there was child labor and so on, the company still needed to have workers, and that's why strikes had power and so on.
Tegmark is describing a race to the bottom dynamic where every actor, whether it's a company or a nation, has to keep accelerating because the second they pause, someone else wins. And it doesn't matter that everyone understands where this leads. The incentive structure makes stopping mathematically impossible. Now listen.
If we get to the point where most humans aren't needed anymore, I think it's quite naive to think that they're going to still be treated well. We say that, everybody's equal and the government will always protect them. But if you look in practice, groups that are very disenfranchised and don't have any actual power usually get screwed. And now, in the beginning, so Industrial Revolution, we automated away muscle work. But that worked out pretty well eventually because we educated ourselves and started working with our brains instead and got usually more interesting, better paid jobs. But now we're beginning to replace brain work. So we replaced a lot of boring stuff, like we got the pocket calculator, so you don't have people multiplying numbers anymore at work. Fine. There were better jobs they could get. But now GPT-4 and the stable diffusion and techniques like this, they're really beginning to blow away some jobs that people really loved having. It was a heartbreaking article post just yesterday on social media I saw about this guy who was doing 3D modeling for gaming, and all of a sudden now they got this new software. He just has prompts and he feels his whole job that he loved just lost its meaning, And I asked GPT-4 to rewrite Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in the style of Shakespeare. I couldn't have done such a good job. It was just really impressive. You've seen a lot of the art coming out here, right? So I'm all for automating away the dangerous jobs and the boring jobs, but I think you hear some arguments which are too glib. Sometimes people say, well, that's all that's going to happen. We're getting rid of the boring, tedious, dangerous jobs. It's just not true. There are a lot of really interesting jobs that are being taken away now. Journalism is going to get crushed. Coding is going to get crushed. I predict job market for programmers, salaries are going to start dropping. You said you can code 5 times faster, then you need 5 times fewer programmers. Maybe there'll be more output also, but you'll still end up using fewer programmers than today. And I love coding, I think it's super cool. So we need to stop and ask ourselves, why again are we doing this as humans, right? I feel that AI should be built by humanity for humanity. And let's not forget that. It shouldn't be by Moloch for Moloch, or what it really is now is kind of by humanity for Moloch, which doesn't make any sense. It's for us that we're doing it. And it would make a lot more sense if we develop, figure out gradually, safely how to make all this tech, and then we think about what are the kind of jobs that people really don't want to have, automate them all away. And then we ask, what are the jobs that people really find meaning in? Like maybe taking care of children in a daycare center, maybe doing art, etc., etc. And even if it were possible to automate that way, we don't need to do that, right? We built these machines.
He's not just talking about jobs disappearing, he's talking about the jobs that made people feel like they mattered disappearing first. The creative work, the skilled labor, the things people spent years learning because they loved it, and we're automating those away, not because we have to, but because we can, because the math says we should. Now listen to this.
It's possible that we redefine or rediscover what are the jobs that give us meaning.
Yeah.
So for me, it is really sad. Like half the time I'm excited, half the time I'm crying as I'm generating code because I kind of love programming. It's an act of creation. You have an idea, you design it, and then you bring it to life, and it does something. Especially if there's some intelligence to it, does something. It doesn't even have to have intelligence. Printing "Hello World" on screen, you made a little machine. It comes to life. And there's a bunch of tricks you learn along the way because you've been doing it for many, many years. And then to see AI be able to generate all the tricks you thought were special.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very scary.
Yeah.
It's almost painful. Like a loss of innocence, maybe. Maybe when I was younger, I remember before I learned that sugar is bad for you, you should be on a diet. I remember I enjoyed candy deeply. In a way I just can't anymore. I know it's bad for me. I enjoyed it unapologetically, fully, just intensely, and I lost that. Now I feel like a little bit of that is lost for me with being lost with programming. Similar as it is for the 3D modeler, no longer being able to really enjoy the art of modeling 3D things for gaming. I don't know what to make sense of that. Maybe I would rediscover that the true magic of what it means to be human is connecting with other humans, to have conversations like this, to have sex, to eat food, to really intensify the value from conscious experiences versus creating other stuff.
You're pitching the rebranding again from Homo sapiens to Homo sentiens, the meaningful experiences. And just to inject some optimism in this here so we don't sound like a bunch of gloomers, we can totally have our cake and eat it. You hear a lot of totally bullshit claims that we can't afford having more teachers, have to cut the number of nurses. That's just nonsense, obviously. With anything even quite far short of AGI, we can dramatically grow the GDP and produce this wealth of goods and services. It's very easy to create a world where everybody is better off than today, including the richest people can be better off as well, right? It's not a zero-sum game, technology. Again, you can have two countries like Sweden and Denmark had all these ridiculous wars century after century, and sometimes that Sweden got a little better off because it got a little bit bigger, and then Denmark got a little bit better off because Sweden got a little bit smaller. Then technology came along, and we both got just dramatically wealthier without taking away from anyone else. It was just a total win for everyone. And AI can do that on steroids.
Notice what just happened. Lex spent 2 minutes describing grief, the slow death of something he loved, and Tegmark's response was, maybe that's fine, maybe we just become a different kind of human, Homo sentiens, feeling creatures instead of making creatures. And then he goes further and says this is actually easy, we can have it all. Sweden and Denmark stopped fighting and got rich together. AI is just the next version of that. It's a beautiful argument and he believes it. The problem is what he says immediately after.
If you can build safe AGI, if you can build superintelligence, basically all the limitations that cause harm today can be completely eliminated, right? It's a wonderful possibility. And this is not sci-fi. This is something which is clearly possible according to the laws of physics. And we can talk about ways of making it safe also. But unfortunately, that'll only happen if we steer in that direction. That's absolutely not the default outcome. That's why income inequality keeps going up. That's why the life expectancy in the US has been going down now. I think it's 4 years in a row. I just read a heartbreaking study from the CDC about how something like 1/3 of all teenage girls in the US been thinking about suicide. Those are steps in totally the wrong direction. And it's important to keep our eyes on the prize here, that we have the power now for the first time in the history of our species to harness artificial intelligence to help us really flourish and help bring out the best in our humanity rather than the worst of it, to help us have really fulfilling experiences that feel truly meaningful. And you and I shouldn't sit here and dictate to future generations what they will be. Let them figure it out, but let's give them a chance to live and not foreclose all these possibilities for them by just messing things up, right? AI is not evil. It caused people around the world to hate each other much more, but that's because we made it in a certain way. It's a tool. We can use it for great things and bad things, and we could just as well have AI systems, and this is part of my vision for success here, truth-seeking AI that really brings us together again. Why do people hate each other so much between countries and within countries? It's because they each have totally different versions of the truth, right? If they all had the same truth that they trusted for good reason, because they could check it and verify it and not have to believe in some self-proclaimed authority, right? There wouldn't be nearly as much hate.
Tegmark contributed to the technology that got us here, and he's spent the last few years trying to warn anyone who will listen that we're not on a path to a good future, we're on a path to abandonment. 1/3 of teenage girls are thinking about suicide right now, and we're spending every dollar and every ounce of computational power racing towards something we don't understand and can't control. And the people building it know this. They know the math, they know the incentives, and they're doing it anyway because stopping isn't an option in a system optimized for endless growth. If that wakes you up, hit subscribe, because the speed this is moving at means we're running out of time to course correct and nobody is slowing down.